All right, everybody, I got 7 o'clock. I'm going to call to order this regular city council meeting for the city of Troutdale, April 9th, 2024. Thank you very much, everybody, for being here. Let's go ahead and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Sarah, roll call, please.
Councillor Ritma.
Here.
Councillor Caswell.
Excused.
Okay. Councillor Wen.
Present.
Councillor White.
Here.
Councillor Whitfield.
Present.
Councillor Glantz.
Present.
And Mayor Power.
Here. Thank you very much. And agenda update, Mr. Ray Young.
Mayor, there is one change requested in the agenda. Councillor White has asked to reconsider the resolution that was on the March 12th agenda, which was to support the bond levy for the flood district, and that is why you should all have a copy of that resolution in front of you. It has to be brought up by somebody who was on the no side at the very next meeting, and yes on both of those counts, and so it's up for the council to decide whether they want to reconsider it at the end of the meeting tonight or on the May 14th meeting. Oh wait, it's in front of me. I didn't hand it out, my bad.
I was going to say, I don't have it.
Sorry.
And that is in accordance with your rules. It has to be, reconsideration can be requested at the same meeting or the next meeting.
Okay, 1 second, everybody.
By a no vote. By a no vote, changing his vote to yes for purposes of reconsideration.
Okay, so let's take a quick discussion. I'm all for bringing it back and having a discussion. We are down Councillor Caswell tonight. I'm going to be frank and upfront. It's going to depend on time at the end of tonight's meeting. So if everyone is in agreement, Sandy, Councillor Glantz, if we can hold off and make a decision later tonight, and depending on where we're at time-wise, I'm all for discussing it tonight. Otherwise, I would be more, I guess, comfortable waiting until the next council meeting. So I guess let's get everybody's opinions real quick. Councillor Wittrin?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Councillor White?
As long as that, my understanding, it has to be the very next meeting
Right.
for to be taken out.
The reconsideration, the motion for reconsideration has to be at the very next meeting. If calendaring requires it, the council can set it over, the mayor can set it over with the consent of council to the next meeting, as they can with any matter that's brought on the agenda.
Okay.
So once the motion's been made, it's properly before the council, and at that point, you can make your decision about whether you have time to hear it.
Okay.
I'm fine with
Councillor One?
I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. We want to reconsider whether we're supporting it or not. And what was the vote the last
The
time?
vote last one was 3-3.
3-3.
Mayor Lauer was not at the last meeting, so it was 3-3, so the resolution would fail on a tie vote. And so Councillor White was one of the no's, and so he has the right to ask it to be reconsidered. It's a no vote. Nobody's committed to anything. The next time it's back up again. Try it again.
Yeah.
Sure.
So are you good with,
Tabling it if we need to?
if time doesn't permit for it tonight,
Yes.
until the next meeting?
Technically, it's not tabling it, it's setting it for a date certain.
Okay. Setting, yes, that is fine.
Okay. Council President?
That's fine.
Okay. Councillor Glantz?
If I can just have Ray email me, I checked email just now and I didn't see it, the documents.
The
And then I'm
resolution?
fine, yep, I'm fine with whenever.
The
Okay.
next 5 minutes, they'll be in your inbox.
Okay. Thank you, Ray. All right, thank you, Sandy. All right, so we will take care of this at the end of the council meeting
Yeah.
tonight, and we'll add it at the end of the agenda, and then we will decide then whether or not tonight or the very next council.
Perfect.
Okay,
Do we need a
we'll take care of
motion
that.
now to reconsider and then at some point have it?
It's a non-debatable motion. It's a motion to reconsider, and it is not voted upon. It's a motion, if the counselor has told the city manager that he's changing his vote to yes and moving to reconsider, and at the time when we can fit it in.
Okay.
And so it gets voted on. Actually, if you want to vote on it, you vote on it when it comes up at the end of the meeting.
Yeah. So we'll just see where we're at with time. Okay. All right, thank you very much. Let's move on to agenda item number 2, public comment. Public comment on non-agenda and consent agenda items is welcome at this time. Public comment on agenda items will be taken at the time the item is considered. Public comment should be directed to the presiding officer and limited to matters of community interest or related to matters which may or could come before council. Each speaker shall be limited to 5 minutes for each agenda item unless a different amount of time is allowed by the presiding officer with consent of the council. The council and mayor should avoid immediate or protracted responses. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up public comment. Anybody on Zoom wishes to make public comment tonight, now is your opportunity. So go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name and city of residence for the record, please. All right, not seeing anybody on Zoom. Anybody in council tonight wishes to make public comment, go ahead and approach the desk and state your name and city of residence for the record.
Hello everyone, good night. My name is Saul Pompeyo and I'm the owner of Restaurante Pompeyo. I come tonight for a talk about 2 topics. I pass some paper and you can read later, but I got to explain what is the topics I got to talk about. I got to ask for this year the city start to apply the code and they don't allow us to put some tables, some tables and chairs on the sidewalk. Start the pandemic, the cities around the United States and around the world, they allow to the restaurants for the people eat outside. And that's changed the people how thinking about it. Before, how we build our business, we build our facilities for everybody go inside with heater and ACs. But after the pandemic, everybody think it's better to eat outside. And we have 3 groups in the people, they really want to eat outside. The people take care more about their healthy, they really want to eat outside. Another group of people, they really want to eat outside, is the people that have healthy issues, or they love have healthy issues, and they are aware to go to close. Another group of very big people, they want to sit outside, is because the depression start to grow more, and many people use animals with support. But by Multnomah County, only the animals' health can go inside to the restaurants. That many people looking for outside eatings. That means Troutdale we have a very bad weather. Our business is with support of the tourist season. If we cannot have tables outside, we go to lose a lot of gap of our business. We don't want to relocate our business for places we can have tables and chairs outside. Like I saw in the pictures, we only use 17 inches for the sidewalk. And we left, in the narrow spaces, we left 42 inches, and in the big space, we left 72 inches. By ADA, I think so, we need to leave at least 36 inches, and we have 42 inches for left the people. Even the city blocking more the streets, because if you know, so you have the PGE box with the lamp, you guys only have 24 inches. We have enough space, but we need to have a permit. I noticed the historic highway is by Multnomah County, but the city can work with Multnomah County for left the permit for have some tables outside. This is one of the topics I want to talk. I got to jump to another topic right away. Very soon we go to have the art festival. Many years ago, the Chambers of Commerce of Troutdale, we promote the Fall Festival Art. And the reason we do it is because we want to have more sales on downtown Troutdale. After some years, we decided to don't do anymore the Chambers of Commerce, and the artists take over that event. And later they put inside to the town the art event. But it's not anymore event planning for promote ourselves. This event is for the artists, and the artist is not for Troutdale, it's artists for all over. Even you can have an artist promote your things in Troutdale and not live in Troutdale. This event is promote the artists and for pay the bills for the company and for the person. That means it's a private event. It's not a community event. They create a huge loss for us. In rewards, because we got, let me explain you. The first weekend of June is our busiest weekend of the year. It's graduation parties. I can have full the restaurant all day. When you go to, the city go to block the street, that means we don't go to have that service. We want to put tables outside, but this year, they don't allow to use the front of our place. We need to pay for use our front of our business, and we don't have to use the whole front stores. The thing is, we go to lose something, and it's not community. It's different when you close the street, and it's something community. But this event is a private event. Somebody organize it, pay their bills, and it's for somebody else. That means we request something in rewards. Okay, we go to lose, give us an opportunity to put tables outside. We participate for recover what we go to lose. Okay, my plea for you guys put these two items on the agenda. I think so it's a good idea if we talk a little bit. I know you guys are so busy, but I want you guys to vote two items in the agenda. I know I'm talking a lot about business, but that's how we do. Most of my competition, my other business, sometimes they don't have time to come. But if you go and talk with a sushi place, it's the same like me. If you talk with a pizza place, they think in the same like me, but they don't have a time to come. Thank you for hearing me, and I hope so you can put in agenda next time. Thank you.
Thank you, Saul. Appreciate your comments. Anybody else wishes to make public comment, go ahead and approach the table and state your name and city of residence for the record. And if you wouldn't mind pulling that microphone just a little bit closer to you. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Sally Wright, and I'm the president of Cherry Ridge Owners Association. We have 203 houses in the HOA. 46 of those houses are on the south side of Cherry Park Road, and some of those houses share a boundary with Columbia Park. And the park is accessible from the streets that make up this part of our HOA. Additionally, the neighborhood continues along Cherry Park Road for the length of Columbia Park. I attended the March 27th Parks Advisory Committee meeting, where I presented the members with a letter titled Formal Letter of Concerns Regarding the Proposed Skate Park. I was asked by one of the Park Advisory Committee members to present this same information to the City Council, and so I'm here this evening. As I indicated in the letter to the Parks Advisory Committee, which I will leave for you, for all of you, and ask each of you to review, for a variety of reasons, the HOA was not aware of the ongoing process concerning the skate park until very recently. This is primarily due to how information was communicated, but that is a discussion for another time. Our major concern is the proximity of the skate park to the neighboring houses. Other concerns, and there are 8 additional listed in the letter, are outlined, and I ask each one of you please to read through that. We understand that Columbia Park is zoned for recreational use, and the neighborhood did not need to be advised of the location and the process, etc. I find that disappointing, as we are an active HOA with a presence on the internet, and one email to the board would have linked us into the process. Cherry Ridge has contributed to the tax base of the city since the late 90s, and many houses are now valued at 500,000 plus. We would have liked to have been afforded the courtesy of being a partner in this project from the beginning. Community values start from within. I will end this with a question. Have each of you been to the designated location and seen for yourself how close this proposed skate park is to the houses that border the park on the west side? If not, I ask you to survey the area in person. And in either case, would you be comfortable with a skate park that close to your home? Thank you for giving me the opportunity to express the HOA's concerns. We will be involved from here on out. That I can guarantee.
Thank you, Sally. Appreciate your comments. Thank you.
I'm ready.
Anybody else in,
Yes.
Including.
Okay, yeah.
anybody else in council chambers tonight wishes to make comment? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment. Thank you very much, everybody, for your comments. We're gonna move on to agenda item number 3. Councilor President Ripma, if you wouldn't mind reading the consent agenda.
All right, the consent agenda, 3.1, minutes, February 27th, 2024, City Council regular meeting. 3.2, resolution, a resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement with the state of Oregon for the Oregon Community Paths 2nd Street Bridge Project Refinement Grant, provided through its Department of Transportation. And I move adoption.
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilor One. All right, Sarah, let's just take roll call.
Okay. Let me just do this. Counselor One,
Yes.
Mayor Lauer,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Wittrin,
Yes.
Counselor Glantz,
Yes.
and Counselor Rittman.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much, everybody. Passes. Okay, this brings us to agenda item number 4. I was trying to get ready, and here we go. So many of you know, for the past couple of years, April has become proclamation month. So we decided to hold some of the proclamations, and some of them make sense to do them in April. So if you bear with me for a few minutes, we're going to get through the 3. And then afterwards, we're going to have a presentation by one of the requesters for the proclamation. All right. Proclamation, agenda item number 4.1, Arbor Day. Proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday called Arbor Day was first observed with a planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable source giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, Randy Lauer, Mayor of the City of Troutdale, do hereby proclaim April 26, 2024 as Arbor Day in the City of Troutdale. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and to support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands. And further, I urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Thank you. That is proclamation number 1, agenda item number 4.2, proclamation. Volunteer Appreciation Week, April 21st through the 27th of 2024. Whereas National Volunteer Week debuted in the United States in 1974 and has grown exponentially each year, drawing endorsements from presidents, governors, mayors, and other elected officials. And whereas Volunteer Week is an opportunity to recognize the impact of volunteer service and the power of volunteers to tackle society's greatest challenges, to build stronger communities and be a force that transforms the world. And whereas it has been a long-standing tradition in Troutdale for individuals, families, youth groups, civic groups, and local businesses to volunteer to make a difference in our community by serving on city committees, assisting with community events such as First Friday and Earth Day, adopting a park, and many other community beautification projects. And whereas the City of Troutdale wishes to recognize these individuals, groups, and organizations for their dedicated efforts towards developing a sense of community, spirit, and pride through their service. Now, therefore, let us honor, celebrate, and thank those volunteers in our community who share their time, energy, knowledge, and abilities by proclaiming the week of April 21st through 27th as Volunteer Appreciation Week in the City of Troutdale. In so doing, I, Randy Lauer, the mayor of the City of Troutdale, call upon all citizens to help renew and sustain the Troutdale community spirit by committing themselves to address the needs of our community through voluntary action. And I know that we are still accepting applications for various city committees and organizations. So
Until April 26th.
April 26th, the week of Volunteer Appreciation Week. So if you have the time and the energy, we highly suggest coming and volunteering for certain citizen groups. All right, agenda number 4.3. Proclamation. Parkinson's Awareness Month, April 2024. Whereas Parkinson's disease is a chronic, progressive neurological disease and is the second most common neurodegenerative disease in the United States. And whereas the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research is dedicated to finding a cure for Parkinson's disease through an aggressively funded research agenda and to assuring the development of improved therapies for those living with Parkinson's today. And whereas an estimated more than 1 million people in the United States are currently living with Parkinson's disease, with an additional 90,000 diagnosed annually. And whereas it is estimated that Parkinson's disease has a national economic burden of approximately $52 billion per year, that's billion, not million, with that cost estimated to rise over $80 billion by 2037. And whereas there is no known cure for Parkinson's disease and available treatments are limited in their ability to address patients' medical needs and remain effective over time. And whereas the City of Troutdale recognizes the efforts of the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's Research as it leverages its core values of optimism, urgency, resourcefulness, collaboration, accountability, and persistence in problem solving to work on behalf of the more than 6 million people worldwide living with Parkinson's. And whereas increased research, education, and community support services are needed to find more effective treatments and to provide access to quality care to those living with the disease today. Now, therefore, we, the City of Troutdale, do hereby proclaim April as Parkinson's Awareness Month in the City of Troutdale. Thank you very much. We're going to take the next couple minutes and ask Kevin to come and have a discussion with us. The floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Notes up here, I'll forget.
Kevin, please remind me of your last name. I apologize.
Yeah, for the record, my name is Kevin Mansfield. I live in Portland, Oregon. Thank you, Mayor and City Council, for doing this proclamation for us again this year. Last year, we had the fun of the floodlights.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But no, it's a great honor that you guys will proclaim April for the City of Troutdale as Parkinson's Awareness. It means a lot to me, and it means a lot to the community that has Parkinson's. I was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2001. And I've been with the Parkinson's Resources of Oregon as a facilitator for the last 22 years. And I've been a public policy ambassador with Michael J. Fox Foundation for the last 11 years. Give you a little background about myself and about Parkinson's and how much it's growing. When I was diagnosed, there was only 12 to 14 support groups in the state of Oregon and Southwest Washington. And I finally found Parkinson's resources. When I was diagnosed, my doctor told me, you have Parkinson's, come see me in 6 months. So not knowing anything about it, I went home and looked it up on a computer. And all that did was made me upset and more depressed because the first 5 or 6 parts of it just talked about the advanced stages. And then I finally found Parkinson's Resources of Oregon, and they were nice and talked to me for about an hour to 2 hours, calming me down and trying to explain to me, so I understood a little bit better what to expect in the future, and that it wasn't as bad to start out with as it may end up with over the years. They asked me if I wanted to join a support group. I said, sure. At that time, there was a waiting list. But about 2 months later, they called me and said, we have an opening if you're still interested. And I said, sure. So we went down, we met at a medical conference room down at Good Sam Hospital. And there was 45 of us in the room for the first 2 months. It was too big. It was wall-to-wall people. So we decided to split groups. And then shortly after that, they asked me to be a facilitator, told me the recommendations and stuff, and said that I had to commit at least 1 year. 23 years later, I'm still doing it, love it, wouldn't change it for the world. Since then, in the last 20 years, Parkinson's has grown from 14 support groups to 55 to 60 support groups in the state of Oregon and Southwest Washington, just to give you some figures. Here, for the city of Troutdale, Fairview, and Wood Village, we have over 100 people just in our local community that live with Parkinson's disease. We figure that there's approximately 20 to 25,000 people in the state of Oregon that have Parkinson's. It used to be, you didn't hear about Parkinson's until they were like in their 60s, 70s, 80s. It doesn't matter anymore. Back before the COVID, we went back to Washington, D.C. once a year for about 4 days or so, have our conferences, go up on Capitol Hill. I met 2 women that was 32 years old, having their first child that was diagnosed with Parkinson's. I met a gentleman that was 22 years old that was diagnosed with Parkinson's. I went to a health fair that I try to go to as many as I can, or invited to. And there was an older gentleman that came up to me and we were talking about Parkinson's and stuff. And he started tearing up and was real sad. And I thought, well, is there something I said, or asked him, is there something I said or did to make him upset? And he told me no, that it was a rare case, but his 8-year-old grandson was diagnosed with Parkinson's. Last week, when I was in Happy Valley City Council, one of the council members came up to me and said that he knows of a family, their 7-year-old was diagnosed with Parkinson's and their 12-year-old was diagnosed with Parkinson's. So it doesn't matter how old you are anymore or what sex you are. We used to think that there was about 50,000 people diagnosed with Parkinson's a year. Last year, the Michael J. Fox Foundation, the Parkinson's Foundation, and I can't remember off the top of my head the third one, all did a census throughout the United States. We realized it came up that there's now 90,000 people a year diagnosed with Parkinson's. It's 1 every 7 minutes. We know that, or figured that Parkinson's is going to more than double in the next 15 years. The number that was given to you of $53 billion a year is going to jump to, we estimate, about $85 billion a year. Half of that comes out of our pockets, and the other half comes from the federal government. Give you an idea of what I've been doing, I'd like to share on the federal side, is we were working with trying to get them to pass a law. It's the National Plan to End Parkinson's. It was a non-biased we weren't asking for funds and stuff, bill that passed on the House of Representatives on December 14th of 407 to 9. Now we're working with our senators, getting them to pass the bill so that we can make it official. And both of our senators told me that they would more than be happy to pass that. On the state side, I gave you guys a handout of some of the things that I'm going to be working with our state representatives and senators with. On page 2 is my main focus right now on what I'm pushing for. In 23, I went to our representatives and senators with the idea, and I gave them the paperwork, asking if we could have a state registry for the state of Oregon. We got bills made on the House side and on the Senate side. They were presented, but unfortunately, along with 1,500 other bills, it never made it through. I was gonna try again this year in 24, but I found out that it was a very short 35-day session, and they'd already picked their bills. So being that session is over, I've been pushing hard on getting back together with representatives. I have 4 representatives and 2 senators right now that will help me try and push this through, and we're gonna see if we can get it pushed through on the 25 bill. What this will do, if we can get it to pass, or I'll say when we get it to pass, is we'll be able to take a census of everybody in Oregon that has Parkinson's, and we'll find out what the hot spots are. We'll find out what type of background they have. Are they farmers? Are they exposed to pesticides and herbicides that cause this? Are they people that are drinking well water that has been known? Are they of the 110,000 veterans that have been exposed to Agent Orange that causes this? So it's a great important thing and stuff. And then on the last page that I have for you is a breakdown of the burden that Parkinson's causes or brings. So with all that in mind, I hope that wasn't too much. I thank you very much for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer. We do have a support meeting that meets the second Tuesday of the month at 2 p.m. I have a hybrid meeting, so if you weren't able to make it in person, just send me an email and I'll send you the link to join by Zoom. Right now, because we were meeting over in Gresham at the senior center, but during our last storm, they had major flooding for pipes break and stuff, so they're under major construction. And the city council of Wood Village has been nice and offered us their facility so we can meet for a Parkinson's support group. But I thank you again for your time, for doing this. It means a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mansfield, for your advocacy, and thank you for keeping it at the forefront of all the city councils and all the representatives and senators. It means a lot. Thank you for the work you do. All right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
We're going to move on to agenda item number 5, annual report from the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, Doug Asbo, Chief of Police. And I see the sheriff in our presence as well. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Chief. Welcome.
Thank you. Let me just get set up here so I can share my screen. Everybody able to see the screen?
Yeah.
There you go. Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Lauer and members of the council. I'm Captain Doug Asbo of the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, and I'm honored to be the Chief of Police for the city of Troutdale. This evening, I'm excited to present in this annual report the good work being done by the members of the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. I'm joined this evening by Multnomah County Sheriff Nicole Morrissey O'Donnell. This evening, I'll be sharing data that represents key elements of the performance for the contract, data relative to city crime, traffic crash and citation data, and an overview of the units that support law enforcement services in Troutdale. In addition, I'll be sharing some new projects that have already started or that will be starting in 2024. I understand that the council has a full agenda this evening, so I'll try to keep the slides efficient and jump right in. This first slide represents reported crimes in Troutdale as they are reported to the FBI's NIBRS, or National Incident-Based Reporting System. These crimes include persons offenses, property offenses, and society offenses. As you can see, there was a slight increase in persons offenses such as assault and similar crimes, and a slight increase in society offenses, which include drug law violations, prostitution, and weapons law violations. However, in that same time period, there was a 34% decrease in property offenses and a 26% decrease in all reportable offenses. This slide presents an incident-specific overview of patrol calls for service during the past year in Troutdale. Across the board, we saw some substantial decreases in crimes that required community members to contact the sheriff's office. And although there was a slight, less than 1% increase in total calls, the majority of the increases can be attributed to activities such as extra patrol and traffic stops, which are important community policing efforts aimed at reducing community livability problems. Here I'll be presenting a breakdown of dispatched versus self-initiated calls, the priority level of incoming calls, and the amount of time spent on calls for service. As I noted previously, there was a slight decrease in incidents requiring community members to call for law enforcement service, and an increase in the number of deputy self-initiated calls. While the priority of calls to which we responded remained fairly consistent, the amount of time deputies are spending on both low and high priority calls has increased. This data and my knowledge of the calls that your deputies are responding to would indicate that although there has been a reduction in dispatch calls for service, deputies are using this additional discretionary time to conduct more self-initiated activities. It also demonstrates that deputies are able to spend additional time working with communities who are making lower priority calls, and that the high priority calls our deputies are responding to are becoming more complex and are requiring a larger response and more time spent on each call. Multnomah County Sheriff's Office used traffic enforcement as a tool to increase community safety and to gain compliance with traffic laws, and not as a punitive encounter. Deputies are allowed discretion on the proper tool to meet these goals. Oftentimes, this is achieved by issuing a warning, with tickets being issued only in cases where the offense is egregious, particularly dangerous, or when warnings have been ineffective in changing behavior. With that in mind, you can see here that traffic stops increased approximately 11% to 2,064, with a similar increase in warnings given and a slight increase in citations issued. I'm also proud to share with you that on April 4th, Patrol Deputy Chad Stevens was awarded the prestigious Maria Mignano Dedication to Duty Award, presented by the Oregon DUII Multidisciplinary Training Task Force. And he was presented this award for removing more than 700 impaired drivers from the roads of Multnomah County during his 13-year career. This represents an incredible dedication to the safety of our communities and an incalculable number of lives saved. Lastly, we did see a slight increase in traffic crashes, but we saw a significant decrease in crashes or calls that require the use of our vehicular crimes team, which include those most serious of crashes and fatal crashes. This slide reflects cases assigned to our investigations unit, or more commonly known as our detectives unit. In 2023, there were 134 new Troutdale cases referred to detectives. However, with the dedicated effort of the detectives assigned to this unit, they closed 128 cases, leaving only 6 cases from 2023 still under investigation. The Law Enforcement Records Unit, based right here at the Sheriff's Office Troutdale Police and Community Center, plays an integral part in the success of our law enforcement division. As you may already know, this unit operates 24/7, 365, and receives, processes, and maintains law enforcement warrants, protective orders, and all other documents required by Multnomah County for the entire county. This unit is often the first point of contact for community members who are coming into the lobby. Even while working through a significant staffing challenge this year, the unit was able to process 2,210 reports and 678 electronic citations while still making countless community member contacts in person, by phone, and email. The logistics unit is another critical component of our law enforcement division. Aside from managing our fleet, our uniforms, and equipment needs, this unit also processes all of our evidence, found or recovered property. In 2023, the unit processed over 7,000 pieces of evidence. Included in those items of evidence were 463 firearms and 743 narcotics items. Councilors, this position was formerly the summer Glen Otto Park deputy. In 2023, City Manager Ray Young and I worked together to reimagine this position. Our goal was to create a position that was more efficiently used and provided a greater service to the Troutdale community. We developed this summer community resource deputy position. The deputy assigned here continues to patrol Glen Otto Park on those hot and busy summer days, but on the cold and rainy days when Glen Otto Park crowds have dwindled, the deputy provides community resource deputy services such as additional traffic safety patrol, community engagement, and helps to address livability issues. I'm happy to say that this was a great success, and the summer community resource deputy was able to respond to 260 dispatched and self-initiated calls within the city, in addition to spending 528 hours patrolling Glen Otto Park. Patrol, reserve, and river patrol deputies provided an additional 435 hours patrolling Glen Otto Park, ensuring that MCSO met the city's expectations in regard to Glen Otto Park summer patrol. As I know you're aware, Multnomah County Sheriff's Office believes that community engagement is a key component to effective policing. Taking advantage of opportunities for our members to connect with community members at events builds trust, increases transparency, solidifies community connections, reduces trauma, and even increases the morale of our own members. Although it seems that event opportunities have not yet returned to the pre-COVID levels, in 2023, we had the opportunity to attend Movies in the Park, First Friday, and the Edgefield Concert Series. We were able to hand out treats on Halloween and be present at the Troutdale tree lighting. In addition, we were able to collaborate with Troutdale, Wood Village, Fairview, and other community partners for what was a hugely successful holiday toy drive. I personally get the opportunity to meet monthly with the Troutdale Public Safety Equity Advisory Committee to collaborate on meaningful strategies to improve public safety in Troutdale. A major facet of community engagement is our school resource deputies. In 2023, Multnomah County Sheriff's Office provided 2 school resource deputies to the Reynolds School District. The school resource deputies are based at Reynolds High School, but they often visit the other Reynolds School District schools within our service areas. It is notable that during their assignment this year, the school resource deputies responded to 178 calls for service, had 175 mentoring contacts with students, attended 32 school events, and responded to 366 requests from school district staff for assistance. Our 3-member Multnomah County Sheriff's Office Homeless Outreach and Programs Engagement, or HOPE team, is another unit that focuses on engagement with our community. They continue to engage with and connect our houseless community members with resources. Although the HOPE team does amazing work in all our service areas, they had some great successes in Troutdale, conducting 445 contacts with individuals experiencing houselessness, making 180 referrals to services, getting 35 camps cleaned, and attaining housing or shelter for 11 individuals. One of the housing placements that stood out was an individual they met at a local outreach event. This individual was working full-time at a local business, but he wasn't able to save up the exorbitant fees for first and last month's rent. He was committed to maintaining his employment, so he remained houseless, sleeping in a closet at work or on a bus. The Hope team was able to secure the gentleman with housing at the Bybee Lakes Hope Center. However, the challenge of getting transportation that long distance from Bybee Lakes out here to Troutdale still remained. Understanding this, the deputies of the Hope team were able to connect with the business management, knowing that that business also had another facility much nearer the Hope Center. And in that coordination, they were able to expedite an immediate transfer to the business's other location. So that individual remains employed and is continuing to work towards permanent housing, although he's able to do that from indoors now. Another deputy that's having a positive impact on our community is your community resource deputy, Nick War. In 2023, Nick continued to focus on community livability issues. To that end, Deputy Bohr conducted 455 traffic stops, issued 132 citations, made 27 arrests, and responded to over 900 self-initiated and dispatched calls for service. When he wasn't busy enforcing traffic laws, criminal laws, or city ordinances, he attended multiple community events and spent time reaching out to local businesses to mitigate some of the challenges they face. This year, Nick is continuing to ensure community safety by addressing traffic safety issues, collaborating with local businesses to reduce retail theft. He's working closely with our Hope team. He's educating community members to address city ordinance issues, and he's participating in enhanced public safety missions. I'm sure you know that I've mentioned enhanced public safety missions, or Epsi missions, on several occasions. The Epsi missions are operations when the Sheriff's Office increases our staffing for a given period of time to focus on a specific criminal act or a specific livability issue. These missions are often supported by our local partner agencies. Some of the addressed issues include the recovery of stolen vehicles, criminal possession and use of firearms, human trafficking, retail theft, and traffic safety. In 2023, Multnomah County Sheriff's Office completed 48 Epsi missions, and those missions resulted in over 1,000 investigative stops or contacts, 262 arrests, and the recovery of 65 stolen vehicles and 14 crime-connected firearms. Based on the significant reduction in reported crime I highlighted at the beginning of this report, it is clear that these missions are hugely successful and are a key component to targeting specific issues without impacting our ability to respond to calls for service. Finally, I wanted to talk about a few things that have already occurred or are coming in 2024. This year, we hope to use some grant-awarded funding to add a mental health professional that will support both our Hope team and our patrol unit. We have had the opportunity and have already selected and hired a new logistics manager, Dwayne Forsberg. Dwayne recently retired after 25 years as an active duty U.S. Marine and brings with him a large amount of large-scale logistics experience. We have continued our Epsi missions this year and will continue to expand it to address additional livability and criminal issues. And lastly, we look forward to bringing online a modern digital image management system, which will improve efficiency when collecting and storing digital evidence, which in this day and age makes up the lion's share of evidence collected. This will also streamline the district attorney's office access to this evidence and make prosecution of crimes also more efficient.
I'm going to interrupt you because you missed bullet point number 3.
Oh, yes. So, been working with City Manager Young, and we're working on adding a workspace for me in the City Hall. And I'm looking at having office hours there at least once a week, So that way, community members would have direct access to come down to City Hall and chat with me. So as we get that finalized, I'll make sure that that's put out there so people know when they can come see me and have access.
That's great.
Thank you for reminding me. I'll close by thanking all of the Sheriff's Office sworn and non-sworn staff for their dedication to the mission and vision of the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office. I'd like to thank Mayor Lauer and the members of the council, as well as the city's management team and their staff. I'd like to recognize City Manager Ray Young, who is not only a staunch advocate for the city of Troutdale, but continues to be an incredible partner in our ongoing commitment to deliver the highest level of public safety service to the Troutdale community. With that, and on behalf of the sheriff and all members of the Sheriff's Office, thank you for this time. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to take them at this time.
Councilor Wittrin.
I'll just lead us off. First off, thank you for all you do. I appreciate it and admire every day that you guys go to work for us and everything that you guys do. To start off, one of your beginning slides had property offenses down considerably, but you didn't really touch on it for examples. What do you contribute that to? Because the optics, especially from last summer, we were talking about all the, we had mailboxes blown up, we had road signs pushed over, we had some other property offenses going on last year. I don't know if the optics agreed with the numbers say, so I'm just curious of what drove that.
I think a significant part of that was a substantial increase in the efforts to reduce stolen vehicles and to address stolen vehicles. Even though countywide, there's been a significant increase in stolen vehicles. Here in East Multnomah County, and through, I think, a lot through the work of our Epsi Missions, we've seen a significant reduction in vehicles being stolen here. So that made up a significant part of that decrease. Additionally, other theft crimes like retail theft, we've really started working a lot of retail theft missions and focusing on some of that's going on at the businesses here in Troutdale. So we've had a significant decrease in retail theft. So I would say theft-related crimes were the biggest reduction.
Gotcha. I'll make a comment when you made a comment about citations, and I'll make a comment back saying citations, the reputation of giving out citations necessarily isn't always bad. It keeps a certain element away. So as much as we don't want to hinder our community financially by making mistakes on the road, we also want to keep a certain respect for our road laws, and so as we go forward. You made another comment about the sheriff's office here being open 365, but I think we're still closed a certain portion of the day, correct, or the evening?
So
I was just wondering when we're going to get back to 365.
yeah, our record staff still work and answer the phone and emails 24/7, 365. We've had to close the office during evening hours and through the night right now just because of those staffing challenges that we talked about. So they were for a period of time about 6 staff members down. So we are down to, I think the last time I checked, they were 3 down. So we're getting there. And we're hoping to have those hired here very soon. And then we can return to actually having the doors here open 24/7 as well.
And then Summer Community Resource Deputy, I just wanted to say thank you. I think that was a fantastic idea that the 2 of you guys came up with, and it worked out great. And obviously the numbers don't lie, so the flexibility, so once again, great. I also wanted to read out and say Holiday Toy Drive, as I got to participate in that directly, was fantastic.
It was fantastic.
The officers were very engaged. For me personally, it was great to see them just out there in the community, one-on-one, just talking to the community and chatting everybody up, and just the personality of it was just fantastic. So, Hope Team, it looked like we were, quick math, we're 25% of the client contacts. Hope Team is fantastic. We love it here. It's great. Whatever we can do to keep supporting it, as far as I'm concerned, we need to keep doing it.
Thank you.
And another observation from outside looking in, all the activity you guys do on social media keeps us all informed all the time. We love all the updates there on social media. This is what Multnomah County Sheriff is up to. These are all the good things you guys are doing. So keep that up as well.
Great, thank you. Thank you for that input.
Yep.
And I did want to add, on the Holiday Troy Drive, one of the big things that we wanted to, and we connected with the communities about, is we wanted those to impact our community members that were in need here in East County. So every single one of those toys went to a community member in East Multnomah County.
That's great. Counselor Glantz.
I have a few questions. Earlier in the presentation, you talked about society crimes versus person crimes. What was the difference again?
So society crimes are things like drug offenses, prostitution, and weapons violations.
And person crimes?
Person crimes are things like direct assaults. If somebody assaults somebody, all levels of assaults, homicide, all the way down to the smallest level of assault.
Okay. And you mentioned you were doing things for livability. Does that go back to what you were mentioning earlier about shoplifting and stolen vehicles?
Absolutely. I think that focusing on some of those things is really important, because we do not want to see, obviously, the community out here become a target for people who might think that this is a good place to go to do those things. So by making sure that we're addressing stolen vehicles and shoplifting and things like that, we're hoping to make people aware that we are enforcing that, and hopefully they go somewhere else to do that if they're going to continue to do that. So I think that does have a direct impact on livability.
Thank you. And then my last question, I participate in the RDPO on behalf of Troutdale, and one of the things that was discussed at the last meeting was different types of preparations being made for civil unrest towards the election and inauguration. Is any of that impacted locally? Is the focus just on Portland? What kind of participation is Multnomah County Sheriff?
So certainly we are aware of the impact and some of the things that we saw and were involved in 2020. So we're taking a lot of the lessons learned from civil unrest in 2020, and we're making sure we have a plan that's in place, that's workable and makes sense. We do have our rapid response team still running strong to help address those situations. It's properly trained and equipped. So we will continue that planning at all levels, all the way up to, and hopefully we don't have any events and it's all wasted time, but that planning is going on.
See, if I recall correctly, in 2020, wasn't it Reynolds High School that had some, I wouldn't even call it civil unrest, but definitely wanted to do some protesting? Have we thought about even addressing some of that in advance with the school resource officers?
Yeah, we've talked to the school resource deputies about that. I know there's conversation between they and the school about that. Honestly, the protesting they did there was really all peaceful, and they were just expressing their concerns, so it wasn't really of a great law enforcement concern. And fortunately, some of the other events we had out here, which we had some marches that came through the city of Troutdale, they were all peaceful, and we didn't have any significant law enforcement issues with any of the events that occurred out here in East County.
Perfect, thank you, and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
I think I remember the organization that the group that came from the high school down to Troutdale. I believe they were in contact with the city. I know they were in contact with the sheriff's department.
Absolutely.
It was coordinated. It was a good event for what needed to happen for that group of people at the time.
Yes, I agree.
Any other comments or questions for Chief Hasbro? Councilor Weiss?
Quick one, yeah. Hi, Chief Hasbro.
How you doing, sir?
I always like to ask is if there's something we can do or policies that would help you guys serve us better in our community.
Yeah, I think that,
or
you know,
tools or whatever.
I think we're fortunate with, you know, not only with the council and the staff here, but with the community, that they're already very supportive. So, you know, that's how come we can do a lot of these things that we're doing. But I just ask that just continue the support, and please be willing to, at any time, let me know when something doesn't seem right or you have some concerns or questions. Because I think that open communication between the sheriff's office and all our community members is critical in making sure that we continue to have the great success and the great relationship that I think we've had thus far. So I appreciate it.
And then, you know, concern I have, it's not in Troutdale, it's that Jordan Road area.
Yes.
And, you know, 1,000 Acres, or the confluence site. But, you know, it seems like now I see cars driving back in there, and
You
it
probably
almost
do.
seems like a scorched earth policy is going on out there, so.
So I will tell you that, as you know, there are multiple property managers who manage that property. So as our HOPE team and the sheriff's office works, we're literally working with the ideologies and planning of several different organizations. We were fortunate in, I kind of met with a number of individuals from the county and really fought to get that site considered for the House Multnomah Now initiative. And so it actually is a part of the House Multnomah Now initiative. So right now, they're currently working with 25 individuals that live out there to get them into housing. I think they've already got 4 or 5 housed out of that. So there is a concerted effort to get people moved into a better alternative than living out there. We are continuing, I meet monthly with all the managers of property with Department of State Lands and Forest Service, state parks. And so we're working together to try to continue to address that and try to make sure that it's a safe place for people to recreate, and work on getting some of those folks that are unsheltered out there into something that's a better opportunity for them, and hopefully get them into shelter. So it is definitely a major focus for our HOPE team.
It's a concern for us trying to market that site, or, you know, behind the Factory Outlet Mall. You can see it a lot better in the wintertime when the leaves have dropped. It's like, oh my God, look at it now.
You're right.
You know, so, and I don't blame you guys. I know it's a nationwide problem. You know, I'm just, that was a good answer, so thank you for that.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, well, thank you for the work you do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for your dedication to Troutdale, East County, Multnomah County as a whole. Thank you to the sheriff for her dedication, and to all of the sworn, non-sworn individuals that make that organization a wonderful place.
Thank you, Mayor. I
Keep doing the
appreciate
good
it.
work.
All right, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Real
All
quick,
right.
I'll get all my stuff out of here.
We're gonna move on to agenda item number 6, an update on the zoo bond. I know Metro Councilor Ashton Simpson had a hard out, and so he had to leave. But we have Heidi, is it Ron? Ron, thank you. I know we met before, but I couldn't remember.
That's okay.
And Melanie Billings-Yun, Oregon Zoo Foundation board member.
Well, hello. Yes, nice to see you all again. Thanks
to
for having
see
us
you.
today.
Yeah.
I'm Heidi Ron, the Oregon Zoo Director, and Melody Billings-Yoon is our Zoo Foundation Vice Chair. And we're gonna go, we're just gonna tell you what's going on at the zoo. And I know a lot of you are big fans, you're members. Many of your community are members of the zoo or zoo goers. So we're gonna tell you where we've been and what's coming up next, and try to keep it moving for you tonight. We have a presentation that I believe is getting pulled up. Would you like to say a few words before I launch? Okay, we are launching. Well, again, so the Oregon Zoo is a community treasure. We are the top paid visitor attraction in the state of Oregon. We get about 1.3 to 1.5 million visitors each year. We've had about 100, we're about to be 150, I think, in 13 years from now. And we're looking to the vision of what we want to be in 13 years. Who and how do we show up for our community when we're turning 150 years old? We've had the community support since the beginning. Our mission is to connect our community to the wonder of wildlife, and we do that through a variety of programs and events. Are you managing the slides? Yes. Okay, just wondering. I was making sure it was you, and I wasn't supposed to be doing something. Okay, great. Well, next slide, please. We are different because we are a hub for science and conservation, animal well-being, and right here you see our Director of Animal Care, Director of Animal Health, and our head veterinarian, Dr. Carlos, working on one of our animals. We have a brand new animal hospital that was developed in the last round of bond investments, and with that allows us to have the best technology, equipment, and care for the animals. So continuing to provide that is a priority for us. Next slide. And I pretty much mentioned this. If you haven't met Jolene, there she is. She is turning 2. I know many of you have met her. She is our baby orangutan, now a toddler, and she is very active. And we're celebrating her this weekend as she turns 2. But as I mentioned, 50 years of accreditation through what is called the Association of Zoos and Aquariums. They set the standard, the gold standard for zoos and aquariums. We have many standards to meet. We are one of only 2 zoos in the whole country that are achieving and maintaining accreditation for 50 years. So we are getting that this year. We are celebrating that. That is not an easy thing to do. It means we were one of the first zoos in the country, Philadelphia was the other one, to get accredited 50 years ago, and we have never lost it. And that has been tough, particularly coming out of COVID and the transitions we made, but we've made it, and I think the community can feel proud of that. Next slide, please. So our track record, in 2008, the community fully supported a zoo bond, and with that, we updated about 40% of the zoo. We've been in that location in Washington Park since 1959. Some of the remaining facilities are from 1959. But we had a strategic focus on animal well-being and sustainability with that bond measure and education. We have spent those dollars. All of those projects were completed by 2021, and they are extremely successful. So now we're looking to our next phase. Next slide, please. The projects that were done in that phase of investments were our primate forest. Again, you can see baby Jolene here, elephant lands, polar passage, our condor facility. We brought condors on site. Many people don't know that we have an off-site facility where we breed endangered condors. Condors are not flying over the state of Oregon yet, but we are planning for them to return to their native habitat, and they get released with tribal and federal agencies in Northern California. We are the second largest producer of condors in the country. There are only 4. We've already had 7 chicks born so far this year. So an extremely successful endangered species recovery program. One of the things we did with the last bond measure was bring condors to the zoo so people could learn about that. We built, as I mentioned, the new veterinary medical center, which is our hospital, and a new education center where we can connect people to wildlife on a consistent basis in that facility. Next slide. A big focus, main focus of the Oregon Zoo is our education mission. One of the programs I want to share with you is our apprenticeship program. We have a zoo apprenticeship program. It's a paid program for teens that are 15 to 18, and it's a 3-year program for low income and youth of color. It includes educational programming, career development, animal care, and conservation action, and we are celebrating 25 years of that apprentice program, which has been extremely successful. We do a lot to bring our community into the zoo, and we are partnering with OMSI to deliver summer camps in our facilities at the zoo. Next slide. Okay, so where are we going? On this map, you can see the map of the zoo. The dark green is all of the area that was updated in that last round of investments. And the light green are areas we know need future work. Some of these, again, have infrastructure dating back to 1959. Next slide. So we started by listening to our community. What do people want to see? We listen to the community consistently. We get guest surveys and feedback on a weekly basis, but we also really focused on several community organizations to help guide us through what they want to see in the future vision of the Oregon Zoo. Next slide. So the priorities, we will always prioritize animal health and well-being. We are really focused on education, making sure that we're consistently and continuously to reduce our water and energy usage, making sure that we're inclusive to everybody who would like to visit the zoo, and we're supporting, as I mentioned, some of our species recovery and conservation programs. Next slide. So what does that look like? Animal health and well-being looks like updating many of those very outdated habitats. Penguins are in a facility from 1959, and that would be one of our top priorities. Sea otters are potentially going to be reintroduced on the Oregon coast. Sea otters have been missing from the ecosystem for about 100 years along the Oregon coast. So many tribal organizations and federal agencies are looking at what does a reintroduction program look like with communities along the coast. We will play a significant role in connecting our community to that reintroduction, as well as potentially being a spot for some of those otters to go if they do not successfully reintroduce. We, like I've heard you talk a little bit about your RDPO and others, we are looking at the changes of, the many emergencies we're all facing, but also the extreme weather patterns and what that means for the zoo. How do you have a good visit when it's extremely hot or extremely cold? How do the animals have what they need in those events? And then how do we extend our visitorship into those shoulder seasons when it's just, slightly rainy and people want some protection? So a lot of the designs will be for comfort for the guests and the animals. And then making sure we can take care of the animals in a case of an emergency. I will note that in that ice storm a few months ago, we lost power at the zoo for 4 days. That would be extremely damaging, but in that last round of investments, we upgraded our electrical infrastructure and purchased some new generators, and that got us through those 4 days. And that was very strategic, and we were very fortunate, but we're gonna need to make sure that we have more of that protection in place. Next slide. Focusing on education will always be a big part of what we do, and making sure that people can have that connection when they come to the zoo so that they can go away and take those lessons from their experiences that they're having. Next slide. I think it's really important that we walk our talk. We are aiming to be a fossil fuel-free campus by 2040. We have to replace many outdated habitats that have old infrastructure that waste energy and water, and make sure that we're meeting our priority goals for water and energy reduction. Next slide. I would note that in that last round of the bond investments, we reduced our water usage by 60%. That's huge. We have a lot of swimming pools. And that also is a huge cost reduction for us. But those are things that we look to in the future. Making sure that people have what they need and they feel comfortable when they come to the zoo. If you can't get your basic needs met, if you can't find your way around, you can't then level up to really engage and learn. So we're trying to make sure that people have refuge from heat and weather, they can navigate, and they have shelter when they need it, and they feel totally welcome at the Oregon Zoo. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we work closely with many agencies on species recovery. That will come through in the design of the new facilities. That will be something that people will connect with and learn about and figure out what they can do to support that. As I mentioned, we've had 7 condor chicks hatch so far this season. That is good for us, and we're on to potentially have a record year. And some events I wanted to share with you, because I know many of you are zoo goers. If you are members, April 20th and 21st is a member weekend, so look out for special activities that weekend. June 7th and 8th is Zoo Brew, our adults only beer festival, which is extremely fun. And then starting tomorrow, tickets go on sale for summer zoo nights. We used to have the major concert series. We have really focused on what is our mission and focused on animals and connecting people to animals, but we still have music 10 nights this summer with local bands. Lots of food carts and more access to the animals in the twilight hours. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Melanie to share a little bit more about the bond.
Very briefly, we're very excited, first of all, by everything that the zoo was able to accomplish in the 2008 bond, but very much, next slide, please, very much so looking at what is to come. This bond measure, as Heidi has mentioned, gives us the opportunity to start upgrading that final 60% of the zoo, which not only will create modernizing certain elements that are too old, but giving the animals a more natural setting where they can move around more and get shade from the heat. We're also very excited that it will have options to improve the walkability of the zoo, especially for people who are mobility impaired and senior citizens. Together, we can do so much to keep protecting animal health, to keep working on our conservation mission, our education for youth and visitors of all ages, and to increase, as Heidi has said, sustainability by conserving water and energy. The bond rate is going to be about 8.5 cents per $1,000 in assessed home value. That's a tiny bit less than what it is. It's the previous bond that is now completed was somewhere between 8.5 and 9 cents, but it would be no additional taxes for most people. It would be actually a reduction in taxes. We're hoping to make about $380 million in funding as a result of that, which will allow us to make these very important changes. And we are extremely proud that the 2008 bond was completed on time, on budget, and we have every intention that this one will be as well. Tremendous amount of work has gone into planning this. Heidi did not bring it, but there is a very thick packet that she could show you about the zoo bond, the campus plan phase 2. We now very much welcome your questions. Thank you.
Any questions from council? Councilor Glantz.
Yeah, quick question. Why is it estimated on the rate? Is it still under consideration, or is it just an approximate 8.5%?
The goal is to raise about $380 million, but bond rates are a little bit mobile, and so it is 8.5 cents, but it can move in tiny increments. So we can just say 8.5 cents.
Thank you.
But so that I don't get arrested, I will say estimated.
Any other comments or questions? Well, I thank you for your time. I thank you for your presentation and the work you're doing for the zoo. I think it's a gem for Oregon and something that we should invest in. So again, I'm supportive of it. And so I look forward to seeing what comes of this, and hopefully new and energized, and we'll get rid of the 1959 exhibits and bring in something into this area of time. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, thanks. We all love the zoo.
Thank you. We love having you. Hope to see you again.
All right, we're moving on to agenda item number 7. I see our Public Works Director taking off his coat, getting ready for the presentation, Mr. Travis Holton. A resolution designating additional on-leash dog parks. Mr. Ray Young.
Mayor, this is a topic that has had a lot of discussion in the community, and both sides of this issue have very good reasons for why they believe what they do, and I thought it might be good to start this discussion with a little levity. And so if we could see the board, bring it down a little bit. Oh gosh, this isn't working. Oh, there we go.
It's frozen, sorry.
Oh.
And for Sally, we put even the skateboard on the dog, so there you go.
That's why I was laughing.
Anyway.
Look like a Scotty too.
Yes, Scotty's always win.
Well, thank you for that. Mr. Travis Holton, go ahead.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. For those of you in the audience that don't know, I'm Travis Holton. I'm the Public Works Director here in Troutdale. You have my staff report, and I've included a lot of the background on this topic from the several discussions we've had over the last few months around dogs in parks. So since you've all heard that numerous times, I'm not going to go through the entire history. It's there. I think I will skip forward to where we're at right now, which is current code provides that dogs are generally prohibited in City of Troutdale parks, but empowers the council to designate parks where they would like to allow dogs either on leash or off leash. And I want to throw in my usual qualifier that we've had every time with this discussion, that when I say dogs, technically I mean dogs and other domestic animals under the code. I just want to say that for clarity. We'll keep saying dogs. When I say dogs, it means other domestic animals as well, but I think for the most part, we're talking about dogs. So the most recent action the council took on this was in December, unless I'm getting my dates wrong, when the council designated 3 places where dogs would be allowed on leash. One is Sunrise Park, The other is the Beaver Creek Canyon. And the third is to a limited extent Columbia Park for access to the off-leash dog park. And concurrently, the council formally designated the off-leash dog park, which we had recently opened in October. Along with that, that resolution held that the PAC should discuss any other parks they would recommend for allowing on-leash dog access, which they did. They discussed that at really the ensuing meeting after that and recommended 9 parks where they wanted to recommend to the council that dogs be allowed on leash. Those parks are listed in the staff report and of course in the draft resolution that's presented to you tonight. These are generally what people might think of as neighborhood parks, although as Paul Wilcox astutely pointed out last time, they are not all technically classified in the neighborhood park category, but these are generally parks that are, within neighborhoods and not the larger community or regional parks that were your Columbia Parks or your Glenelg Parks. So that recommendation was sent forward to the council. We had a discussion on that back in January. And the council wanted to take a little time to get the word out to folks and give them a chance to provide their input. We did publish an article in the Champion, letting folks know that you all were going to be talking about this tonight and potentially acting on it and asking folks to offer their input and their opinions. We did receive some feedback. There's a number of emails, I think, 11 or so, included in your, 3 were in the original council packet and 8 more that came in since the packet was distributed. I won't try to characterize all of those. You all have them to read. There are a number of them in support of allowing dogs on leash, a few opposed, and a few other notes about some of the people that are just not observing dog-related or other parks rules in general, and some concerns about those sort of things. So with that, you have the draft resolution in front of you. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. You may have some folks in the audience here tonight that want to offer their input on the matter, but the resolution's here presented to you tonight for your action if you choose to proceed.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Holton. Councilor Glantz.
Now, last time we met to talk about this, I thought we were going to look at taking Sweetbriar off because it's adjacent to the school playground.
I recall a couple of concerns being raised about that, but to the best of my recollection, there was no consensus of council telling us to remove that from the list in the draft resolution, although you can certainly do that tonight.
I think part of the other issue too is it's my understanding that that park is closed to the public during school hours. For one thing, it is a very small park, so I think those were some of the comments that were made that make it maybe not subject to not living on the list, but that's just as I recall.
That's correct. As I recall, one person did point out that I think the concern was conflict between school kids and dogs, since the school sort of utilizes that as part of their recess area. That person pointed out that nobody's allowed in that area during school, when the school sort of utilizes it for recess. So even people aren't allowed there other than the folks that are working for the school or the kids.
Okay, Councilor White.
Yeah, I trust. I'm just curious, has there been any monitoring of the new areas that we've allowed on leash dog to see if people are, picking up after their dog or keeping them on the leash or?
Well, we haven't
had any very much good weather either for anyone to be out and about.
Not really. I mean, folks that really want to get out and walk their dogs often, a lot of them are, they don't mind. They're Oregonians, they'll get out there and walk their dogs in the rain. I mean, we haven't conducted any sort of structured program to monitor for that, but the park superintendent has not noted to me any uptick in any of those kinds of issues. I mean, bear in mind that even prior to the designation of the 3 parks that you all designated and the off-leash dog park, prior to the updating of the ordinance, people were walking their dogs ubiquitously in the parks. So I wouldn't really expect to see much change in those kinds of things.
That's kind of what I thought. The only reason I asked that question is because I thought the consensus was to see how it goes with these parks before we, start adding more.
All I can say is, and Jonah could speak to this, he's online if you'd like to hear from the park superintendent, but Jonah has not reported to me any sort of uptick in any kind of concerns, issues, anything like that. I mean,
Thanks, Travis.
pretty much steady as she goes.
Hey, Jonah. Actually, let's go ahead and, if the council doesn't mind, let's ask Mr. Jonah Jacobson about his professional opinions with the three parks that we have right now and how they're being monitored, or if we've noticed any uptick of complaints or from citizens or neighborhoods.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Mr. Holton is correct. I have not observed a notable difference in the number of general complaints or the cleanliness of our parks since the council actions on this matter in December. I will also note that the Troutdale off-leash dog park has been nothing but a huge success in my eyes, and I think that Miss Sally Wright of the Cherry Ridge HOA could attest to that herself. She's in the audience tonight. But I would say that there have been 0 messages left on my voicemail since the opening of the new dog park, reporting any instances of dog bites or fights or attacks or anything like that. So in my perspective, it has been a success thus far.
Thank you, Jonah. I appreciate that. Any other comments or questions for Travis or Jonah? And I am going to open this up to public comment, but I'd rather get council's comments or questions first.
I would just say, comment is, it seems like more of the concerns that are out there is how do we enforce the regulations that are out there. And really, we don't have any enforcement to go back after, so it's, even if we say, hey, dogs are acceptable in all these parks and just leave them on the leash, but there is no enforcement if they're off the leash. There's nobody to actively go after or maintain the code. So that seems to be the public that is concerned. That's their biggest concern. So.
Okay. Any other comments or questions? Nope. All right, I'm going to open it up to public comment. Public comment is open at this time on agenda item number 7, a resolution designating additional on-leash parks. If anybody on Zoom wishes to make public comment, go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name and city of residence for the record, please. Mr. Wilcox, I'm going to call you since you were first to unmute yourself, sir.
Hey, thank you, Mayor. Paul Wilcox, Troutdale. Basically going to reiterate what I've said at previous meetings briefly. Guess I'll start with the easy ones first. I think CP Park and Canterbury Park are what I would describe as pocket parks. I think they're way too small to be mixing people and dogs. There should be some tiny refuge of green space in the city where people could go and just sit and not worry about dogs jumping on them. My third park that I would take off the list would be Wooddale. Wooddale is completely surrounded by a couple dozen homes, the backyards of those homes. There are no developed paths there. And walking through there would be kind of a dog waste minefield since there's no guidance to where you're going to go and where you're going to avoid. My final comment would be regarding Glen Otto being off limits. I haven't heard it definitively determined whether Sugar Pine is part of Glen Otto or not. So I think that kind of needs to be addressed because they're pretty welcoming of dogs. And I think that'll do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else on Zoom wishes to make comment, go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name and city of residence for the record, please. All right, not seeing anybody. Anybody in council chambers wishes to make comment? Go ahead and approach the desk and state your name and city of residence for the record.
Hi, I'm Carol Allen. I live in Troutdale. Although I can speak freely in committees, I do not do well here. So, good evening, Mayor Lauer and Commissioners. I would like you to know that I am on Parks Committee, but I am not representing Parks Committee. I'm representing my own opinion. I recognize that we have dog owners that are responsible and irresponsible. Responsible dog owners keep up after their dogs, they pick after them, they're respectful. When my grandchildren go up to them and want to pet them, they're very kind. And my grandchildren are open to other dogs. I'm learning about other dogs. My experience I wanted to share was with the irresponsible dog owners. We have them in a lot of the parks that we go to. Some of our interactions have not been so great. We've been greeted with dogs who have run up to them and scared them, pushed them down. I have my youngest grandchildren crying because now they don't want to go to a park, or I have to protect them because of other dogs. Those dog owners sometimes are not even near the dogs because they're running. I know that the Parks Committee has recommended more parks open to on-leash dogs, but I am really struggling with this. I would like to caution you on just making decisions on this because while I agree with responsible dog owners, we have many, I'm repeating myself, sorry. I have seen owners let their dogs run and do their business, but not pick up after them. I've seen them stand next to the poop stations and have their dogs poop right on the station and not pick up after them. And I have seen my kids running around and getting poop on their shoes and their clothes, and then I have to deal with that. So I did some research on the website because I wanted to find what is the guidance that we have on our website. I struggled with finding that information. I found information on the off-leash dog park at Columbia Park, but I didn't see where our rules were posted clearly or easily found.
Sorry, that was the last speaker, not you.
Oh, okay. Before I go, please think about the following questions that I've been thinking about. One is, who's going to enforce the rules at the parks? They're not enforced now. 2, who is going to clean up the poop in the dog parks? It's not done now. It would be nice to take children to the dog parks or to the parks and not have to deal with the poop, and have my grandchildren freely run around and I don't have to worry about it. 3, some parks have clearly signage while others do not, or the signage is confusing. Is there a plan to clarify these rules and regulations at each park? Where are we going to put the rules at each park? I live near Whedon Park, and it is a beautiful, long, gated area where dogs do love to roam, and I love to see them roam, but not when my grandchildren are there, right? So thank you for your time.
Yeah, Carol, appreciate it. All right, anybody else in council chambers? Yeah, go ahead and approach the desk and state your name and city of residence for the record.
Hey, I am Shelley Reynolds of Troutdale, and I actually live directly on Llewellyn Park, directly behind the tennis courts. And when I moved in, there was a very clear no dogs allowed, and every day dogs are there, people are walking their dogs through the park, by the park, in the park, on leash, off leash. Then the waste stations were put in, and the waste stations are confounding the matter, right? You put in these waste stations and people assume that their dogs are allowed in the park, and they're walking them in the park, the same as when they were banned. In the course of one day, I saw 14 people in the park, one set of kids, one set of tennis players, on a crazy rainy day, who knew? And the rest were dog walkers. Dogs are a terrific motivation for exercise, and the dogs that I see in our parks are respectful, are kind, are fun, are happy, including the two that are within my fenced boundary and often in the park as well. Are there irresponsible people leaving their messes in the park? Absolutely. But when you're talking about a residential park where the majority of people are dog owners, I think not allowing dogs in the park is futile. They're gonna be there, and making virtually criminals out of those people, and making them uncomfortable in their own neighborhoods is not in the best interests of the residents of our neighborhood. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to just interject here because Shelley brought up an issue that has been brought up before in the council chambers, and I know Tim Siri is retired and not here to defend himself, but I will a little bit. There are, and there have been placed doggy bags in parks where they're not allowed. However, staff ran into a quandary, I believe, because as Carol pointed out, people go in there and leave their poop anyway. I think staff was felt with, well, people are gonna do it, we can't enforce it that daily, so maybe we can do something to help keep the poop off the grass and put the baggies there. So it was kind of like, danged if you do, danged if you don't, and it was a way maybe to help that other problem that you talked about. So I understand why Tim may have been thinking that way and put them in, even in parks that you're not supposed to have dogs.
Yeah.
So just to explain why that decision was made.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments from public comment? Yeah, go ahead and approach the desk, and again, name and city of residence.
My name is Saul Pompeyo. I'm the owner of Restaurante Pompeyo. I deal all the time with the rules about dogs. Sometimes you need to aware if the dog, because by the ADA, the animal service can go in the parks. But what means animal service? Some people come to my restaurant with a snake and he say me it's the animal service. Can't believe me. Or somebody coming with a cat in a cage and they say me animal service. Multnomah County have a rule, animal service only can be a dog, trainee, and horses. I don't know what kind of horse.
Many horses.
Yes, okay. Well, they need to put the rule very specific, and they go to, and another kind of dogs is the animal service for emotional support. Because by Multnomah County, they do not accept dogs for emotional support. But if you're allowed to go to emotional support dogs, at least are dogs training. They don't make a mess. That's only, I think, so you need to make sure in the animal service, what kind of animal service can go to the park. It's my only aware I can help you. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Saul. Appreciate it. Any other comments from council? Yeah, please approach the desk and state your name and city of residence for the record.
Never done this, so I might be a little fidgety.
That's okay. Welcome.
Natalie Bowers of Troutdale. So we were lucky enough to move to Troutdale from Portland, get out of the city life, get finally a backyard that's bigger than a table. And we fell in love because the park's nearby. We were getting ready to have a child, and our dog was our first child, which most millennials, our dogs are our children, so we pamper them a little bit differently. But no, we've been walking the same Shelley Park. We've been walking to that park. That's every day. Oh, well, when it's sunny. But we were also the house that had the cougar in the backyard last year. So our dog is also the protector of our family. I don't know how often that happens here, but that definitely scared us enough where, if anything had to happen to me or my child, our dog is there. So we take our dog everywhere. I apologize, we didn't know about the ban in the parks. So I should be reading that paper a little bit more, so I apologize. But our dog is very well trained. So I just expect that for any dog that goes to the park. I have no issue with calling people out with the poop. I totally get that. My toddler gets poop on her shoe all the time. If I see another dog owner not picking up their poop, I politely go up and hand them a bag and let them know where their poop is for their dog. Which I think, you know, it is what it is, but yeah, and so I just wanted, I don't know if this is like a thing, just wanted to make my comments out there, but,
Yeah,
yeah, I think that's it.
I appreciate it now.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you for moving to Troutdale from Portland.
Yeah. Pretty nice.
Any other comments from people in council chambers tonight? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and close public comment. Thank you very much, Mr. Travis Holden. So, from council, we have a list of 1, 3, 6, 9 additional parks.
9.
We had good comment, we had good written comment, I believe there was 11 total. And even on the don't pass this side, one of the 3 that was in opposition to this had a really good idea. And it was something that was similar to Carol's comments about signage and what the city can do to educate the population better. Like having maybe something that we can work on, getting a page that's just dedicated to dogs in parks, or something additional on the parks page that says, listen, be great dog owners, be great park goers, be great neighbors to everybody else that utilize this park. Here's ways to do that. Here's what a doggy poop station looks like. Here's what a bag looks like. This is where it goes. I think that's something, that's low-hanging fruit that the city, almost said something else, that the city should have already been doing. So to know that that's difficult to find that information is troublesome, and I think that's something that we can fix, hopefully pretty soon. Signage, on the other hand, I think that's another low-hanging fruit, but that's gonna be something that your department needs to figure out on whether or not it's in the budget, how we can implement getting better signage at the parks, especially if we're gonna start opening it up to more parks around the city. I think also on the flip side of that is having signs up at, because I'm pretty certain that the council is opposed to opening dogs up at Glen Auto for various different reasons, and maybe signs on at Glen Auto that state the reasons why we don't allow dogs on leash here at this park. But in saying that, it's still open up for council discussion. So after hearing public comment, Council President Ridma?
Yeah, this has been, I've gone back and forth. I mean, I was originally thinking, let's just try it in a couple parks, you know, the off-leash area and so on, but it was quite obvious that people are walking their dogs and enjoying walking their dogs in our neighborhood parks. That convinced me that, okay, let's just go ahead and allow it. I'm all for increased signage, explain the rules, on leash. The Parks Committee has recommended these 9 parks, and I guess I just agree with several of it's not everybody was in favor, but most people are, and Councilor Whitron's comment about who's gonna enforce it anyway, you know, people are doing it, it should be allowed. So anyway, I am going to favor this resolution on the recommendation of the Parks Committee and the citizen comments. There's no way to please everybody with this. This is a very contentious issue in some cases, but the arguments in favor of allowing people to do what essentially they're doing now, but doing it with some rules and some signs, I'm for it. So I'm going to vote for this resolution.
Thank you, Council President. Councilor Wong.
I mean, I've been for it the whole entire time, so. But I think it's important to recognize that do hear what people say when they're concerned about their loved ones. I think we're all concerned about our loved ones. And we're never gonna be able to eliminate bad dog owners. We're never gonna be able to eliminate bad people or bad situations. And so we can just do the best we can. And I think it's a great idea to put something on the more clear on the city website and maybe just some signage. And like I said, I think the dog waste stations at the park is a great resource for people. I mean, I walk my dog every day. I have a bag. Sometimes your dog goes to the number 2 twice and you're like, what do I do now? And they're really helpful to have those. You can walk around, grab one, then walk back around. So again, I agree with Councilor Ribbon. I'm in favor of it and forward.
Thank you. Councilor Glantz.
Things. First of all, the Parks Committee, I listened to the meeting when they discussed this, and it wasn't that they picked these parks, like I want, Wooddale and I want Cannery. It was, let's just do neighborhood parks. It was pretty generic. So I still feel pretty strongly about removing Sweetbriar Park because of the adjacency to the school. And it's also like, that's literally the only park in that entire Sweetbriar area. So I don't know, it doesn't make any sense to me. And it also doesn't make any sense to me when we say, well, they're doing it anyway. So if people speed down 257th, should we increase the speed because they do it anyway? I don't understand that logic. So I really would like to see Sweetbriar Park removed.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Glantz. Councilor White.
Yeah, well, I grew up in a time where, dogs roam freely all day long. You knew them by name. And, I love dogs. But, CP Park is so small. I think the only reason you go there is so your dog could go to the bathroom. And, you can walk a dog anywhere on the sidewalk, and most trails and places. I was hoping for kind of let's see how this goes approach, and I thought council was on board with that too. And I agree with Sandy on what park was that again? The Sweetbriar Park. Because, dogs, if kids are running and playing, some dogs, it's bred into them to chase those kids, and I'd be concerned about that. And, there's great pet owners, their dogs have shots and they go to the vet and they're groomed. But there's a lot of homeless people in our area that have aggressive dogs that I've encountered. And, so it's still a concern. I'm still kind of torn on what to do, actually. And I'm curious how we're gonna keep dogs out of, if they're allowed in every neighborhood park, except Glen Auto, how's that gonna work? No one's gonna know that. They're gonna think they're allowed over there as well.
Well, I think the Mayor Lauer's comments that were echoed by others is the key is education. So we have obviously the Champion newsletter where we can educate people further on this. Once y'all come to a conclusion on this round of designations, of course, we are gonna undertake a process to overhaul our signage at the parks. Jonah's already has a nearly finalized list of rules that are based on the ordinance that y'all adopted, sort of, plain language version of that. And then, other parks where dogs are still not going to be allowed, making sure the signs are there. And then I think the idea of, obviously, we need to update information on our website. We have a variety of pages on our website with information about parks, and we need to go through there and make sure everything's up to par. But I really like the idea, I think you mentioned, Mayor Lauer, of maybe having a page that's just sort of dedicated to, walking your dog in parks in Troutdale, and here are the parks where it's allowed, and here's what the rules are, and here's, these ones that are not allowed, So arming people with information and education, I think, is really, the approach to that. And you have to do that, on the ground at the individual parks, as well as, and some more other informational resources when people are planning where they're gonna go.
Yeah. I think also, going through that, your comments and then Travis's response, having maybe a doggy way station down at the First Friday events. There's a lot of people that walk a lot of dogs down there, a lot of people that walk dogs from Troutdale, that walk through Troutdale, that are visiting, that probably also go to the parks. Bring something down there with thousands of people that are in there on Fridays, multiple weekends a month, during the summertime, during the good weather. Show them what the dog way station looks like. Have it available for them to use while they're walking down and around there. Another piece, another touch point that I know that we can do to just educate people even more in a place where they might not expect it, and it might imprint a little bit more on them while they're down there experiencing downtown Troutdale.
Mayor, as you may have realized in the beginning of this, I have a sense of humor about this issue to a certain extent, and I think humor is a good way of education. I'm showing our city attorney spending his legal time on this.
You guys are looking at memes during the.
Yeah, we are.
What you're saying.
We're looking at actually signs that you can buy that are very creative and very funny and very direct to people. And I think we're more than happy, depending on what the resolution is approved, to think outside the box of just standards. I hate the signs that says, here are the rules for dogs, and there's 10 of them in 6-point font. It's just like, that's not helpful. So thinking of ways to make it very creative and very cute, but very direct to people, I think we can do that.
Okay, sounds good. Councilor Richard?
My opinion, I feel our communities, the majority of our community is telling us that we need to move forward with this, and I would support it. But once again, it goes back to when we're saying, hey, small parks, and we're concerned about small parks and having dogs in small parks. But then, are we concerned that people are not gonna follow the rules, or they are gonna follow the rules? There are gonna be rules, there are gonna be leashes, and they're still gonna be within so many feet of you on leash anyway, even in a ginormous park. So the park size does not concern me as much. It's more about following the rules, being on a leash, not running loose. So it's more about, yeah, once again, education, respect for your neighbors, following the rules. But yes, I would support this.
And I think just to respond to your comments earlier about the enforcement side of it, it doesn't necessarily go against what Troutdale's philosophy is with code enforcement already. We have one code enforcement officer. His task is to educate first before compliance, right? Hopefully we get compliance out of education. If that doesn't happen, then we have the other side of code compliance officer, Joe Storgy. I'm hoping we approach it the same way. We do our best as a city, as an organization, and as different departments of our city to educate our neighbors and educate our community as much as we can, so we don't have to go to the other arm of that compliance. But it's like everything else. It's gonna be complaint driven, and if people see something, say something. That's hopefully what we're gonna get out of this. So I'm in support of it. For Natalie, I didn't know we didn't allow dogs in parks anyways when I was elected to council. I didn't apologize for taking my dogs to parks. So I'm happy that we're moving, hopefully, towards being a more dog-friendly community, because I think that's what the community is wanting from us. So I'm supportive of it. Any other comments or questions from council? Councilor White?
It sounds like this is gonna go through, so I just wanna make sure that on the record that we're sympathetic to neighbors or neighborhoods that are having a noise problem, that we actually respond and react to that, and that we make sure Sugar Pine's aware that the dogs aren't gonna be allowed in Glen Auto Park. And we're gonna have a discussion with them and put signage up. And I think it'd probably be smart of us too to make this like a 6-month trial and revisit it. I hate to do that, but I think it's important enough, because only 30% of Troutdale owns a dog and the rest don't. But just an idea.
Okay. All right. Councilor Glantz?
I was actually recommend a year that we look at this again, just so you look at this again to see how it's going, a check-in.
Okay. So what I was hearing is that you're in agreement with Counselor White?
Yeah, I was actually gonna make a motion so I could try to get Sweetbriar out, but
Go ahead.
okay, I'll go ahead and move adoption of a resolution, the additional on-leash dog parks with the exception of Sweetbriar Park.
I'll second that.
Okay, seconded. Discussion, Counselor One.
Guess what if I want Sweetbriar Park in there and don't see a problem with it? How do we?
Ed, if we vote down Sandy's motion, does that vote down agenda item number 7?
No, because it's a conditional. There are, usually people move to amend the.
And not adopt.
Yeah, to amend the motion, and this would be voted on as if it were an amendment to the issue before the resolution that has, 9 parks, so it's instead limiting it to 8. So if you vote no, it'll come up again if someone moves to adopt the original resolution.
So we can go through this and then afterwards we can just make a motion to like accept it as it is written.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure we're doing it.
Sandy, reread your motion.
Should we have Counselor Glantz reread it as an amendment?
That's the better way to do it, yes.
Can you give her language to specifically do that?
Sure, it would.
If Sandy's amenable to doing that. Thank you, Ed.
It would be a motion to amend the resolution to delete Sweetbriar Park.
So moved.
And did you also have in there that this would be on a 6-month trial or anything like that?
I think that'll come afterwards, and that's something we can just direct staff to do.
It doesn't have to be part of the motion?
Yeah. Okay, do I have a second to Sandy's amended motion?
Second.
Seconded? Okay, and again, this is just voting, this is voting to approve with removing Sweetbriar.
Correct.
It's a motion to amend.
Amend, thank you, sorry, thank you, amend. Sarah?
Okay, Counselor One,
No.
Mayor Lauer,
No.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Wittrin,
No.
Counselor Glantz,
Yes.
Counselor Ritma,
No.
fails.
Okay. Thank you, Sandy. And now do I have a motion for agenda item number 7?
Can I make a motion to accept the resolution designating additional on-leash parks?
Yeah.
It's best to read the title. I move to adopt.
I move to adopt a resolution designating additional on-leash parks. That's all it says.
As written.
As written. Is that?
Second.
Okay.
Seconded. All right.
Counselor One,
Yes.
Mayor Lauer,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Wittrin,
Yes.
Counselor Glantz,
No.
Counselor Ritma,
Yes.
passes.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for the discussion. Thank you for the concerns. And then again, to respond to Counselor White's, I think having some time to look at this and see how we go through the summer months and then come back to council. I don't have a date in front of me. I mean, we could say 6 months, but I'd rather pin it to a certain council meeting.
Maybe sometime in September after summer.
We have September 17th, October 8th, or October 22nd.
About October 8th?
Yep.
October 8th. And we'll come back with more parks.
Hopefully there's no problem.
All right, thank you, Travis, appreciate it.
Thank all of you.
Thank you, Jonah. Thank you, Jonah. All right, we're gonna move on to agenda item number 8. A resolution limiting city liability from claims of personal injury or property damage arising from public use of city property for recreational and other purposes. Mr. Eric Mueller, the esteemed finance director for the city of Troutdale, who was pushed almost to the end of the agenda. You have the con.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is certainly not as scintillating as previous items on the agenda. This is much more of a risk management aspect. As I had outlined in the staff report, there's been a long tradition in Oregon to allow access to land for recreational uses when it's provided free of charge, that the landowners are protected from lawsuits from people who might hurt themselves while using the property free of charge, and those landowners, many of which are public entities like cities. Over the years, there's been different court cases that have chipped away at it a little bit. Last year, there was kind of a significant undermining of it from a particular case, and the Court of Appeals in their, I think, ivory tower legal reasoning, musing process, decided to pursue something that was a bit more of an academic viewpoint rather than a practical one, and created a pretty significant undermining of some of those protections. Created what was reported 22 trails across the state being closed as a result of the uncertain liability that that ruling had created. The legislature understood the significance of that. There was, I believe, 263 testimonies and or letters in support during the legislature. The only, I believe, less than 10 of those were in opposition, and they generally came from the Trial Lawyers Association representatives in terms of trying to address correcting this. As I mentioned in the staff report, this is essentially a temporary correction. It's a little bit more complicated legal language that's got to be addressed, and so the legislature has made a change that lasts until January 1st, 2026, and they are already working on kind of a more, what was the term I saw read? More durable, I think was the term I read, solution for this in the upcoming legislative session. So we will likely be back again with some additional resolution following that legislative session. Also, as I mentioned in the staff report, there's some filling out and some definition that we may need to do from the ordinance side in the municipal code, which I intend to be bringing to you in June to help eliminate some potential gaps and to better ensure our protection. So all of that with my risk manager hat. So with that, I'm happy to address any questions that the council may have on the staff report or the resolution.
Get to the right screen. Any comments or questions from council? You know, Councilor White is taking a second here, so we'll prolong this for just a couple more seconds, and then we'll move forward.
I'll just say I'm very familiar with this.
Yeah.
I followed it through the legislature. It was a sensible fix.
Yeah.
I'm all for this.
Yeah. These will. Straightforward.
Yeah, it's beneficial to us, and not doing so is not beneficial to us.
You could have just, I
An
mean, you
easy
could have led
choice
with
for you
that.
to make.
I think at the last OMA I can't remember, Ed, you might know, if it was North Plains, city of North Plains that was dealing with shutting down, they were thinking about shutting down sidewalks around City Hall. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think that's the right city.
Yeah.
A number of cities did close parks and trails through parks because people might walk the trails as a way to get from point A to point B and not for recreational purposes. And therefore, it would not be if they fell on Earth, so.
Yeah, Yes, because in the judgment of the appeals court, walking is not recreating, but hiking is.
Hiking is.
Specifically, that's right.
But that's one of the things that this legislative fix did, is they actually explicitly added walking as a recreational activity, so it's included.
I would expect to see some lawyer argue that there's walking recreationally and there's non-recreational walking too.
Purposeful walking,
Purposeful walking.
economic walking.
Yeah, it's just like the nuances that the lawyers made between improved rights of way and unimproved rights of way, and that coverage extended to some but not to others, and which is also part of what created the uncertainty for various trail operators as to, well, how improved is my trail?
Right.
And which side of the equation does it fall under for protection or not?
And is a sidewalk in the right of way a trail?
Is it a recreational facility?
Yeah. Well, let's
Want me to go round him up where,
let's go ahead and take a recess just let's take a 3-minute, and then we'll come back. We'll go.
Oh, I see where he is.
Yeah. Sorry, Mr.
He's just
Mueller.
there, I thought he was gonna follow me back in.
Thank you. Back from our recess. All right. Any comments or questions from council?
I don't have any.
All right.
I'll move that we adopt a resolution.
We might invite public though.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, let's go ahead and open up public comment to agenda item number 8, resolution limiting city liability from claims of personal injury or property damage arising from public use of city property for recreation and other purposes. Public comments open. If anybody wishes to address council, now's the time. On Zoom, go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name and city of residence for the record. Mr. Wilcox.
Thank you, Mayor Paul Wilcox, Troutdale. Just had one observation question. Section 3 of the resolution, the city manager and risk manager are listed by name. I'm wondering why that is required or why that was done. Thanks.
It's probably so they know who to sue.
This is an insurance and risk management matter, so that was the only reason it was referenced, not a requirement. Informative.
Any other person on Zoom wishes to make a comment? Now is the time. Go ahead and unmute yourself and state your name and city of residence for the record. All right. Anybody in council tonight wishes to make a comment? All right. I'm going to go ahead and close public comment. Now, if there's no other discussion, I would entertain a motion.
All right, I will make a motion, adoption of the resolution limiting city liability from claims of personal injury or property damage arising from public use of city property for recreational and other purposes.
I'll second. Seconded by Councilor One.
Okay. Counselor One,
Yes.
Mayor Lauer,
Yes.
Counselor White,
Yes.
Counselor Wittrin,
Yes.
Counselor Glantz,
Yes.
Counselor Ritma.
Yes.
Passes. Thank you, Mr. Mueller. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor?
Moving on to agenda item number 8, an update from the Public Safety Services Delivery Working Group, Mr. Ray Young.
Agenda item number 9.
Oh, sorry, number 9. Thank you.
Don't want to have it anymore. Thank you, Mayor. Last night, the Public Safety Working Group met with members, Councilor Wittrin and Councilor One were there last night. We had a great discussion last night, a lot of topics we covered. We were there probably 2.5 hours. A couple of the high points were, I updated them on law enforcement. I've sent a letter to the sheriff's office indicating the changes that we would like to consider in our next contract, so we can start talking about what the cost might look like for another 10-year contract if we chose to go that direction. The sheriff responded she'd love to sit down and chat about it. I got a chance to follow up with her more this evening before the meeting, and we're We're gonna sit down with her team and make sure that the proposal is doable for them, and then they'll turn it over to the accounting people to figure out what their proposal might be. So that was moving forward, and Jensen Strategies is still working on their report as to what would be the cost to establish and then operate a Troutdale Police Department. That should be done in the end of June. I did go through and updated them on my to-do list from the prior meeting. Was to also ask Jensen Strategies, hey, wouldn't you mind doing a fire report on what it would cost to establish a 3 cities fire department if we had to go that direction and to operate it? And Jensen Strategies said, great, with that, we'd love to do that. We've got several retired police, fire chiefs and city managers on staff who can help us do that. We'll get you a proposal in a week or two. Number 2, they asked me to invite Mike McKeel to the meeting last night, and he appeared. And he was at the meeting last night to talk about Fire District 10 and how it operates. Thirdly, they asked me to connect with Econ Northwest. Econ Northwest was a fairly reputable, very reputable economics analysis firm in Portland, and they had done the City of Gresham's 2022 economic analysis of primarily their fire department and a fire district and what would be the financial impacts to the city. And so they asked me to consult with them about maybe doing one for the city of Troutdale, focusing on a fire district and the cost effect that might be on the general fund and on our citizens. And I'm meeting with them either tomorrow or Thursday to get a proposal from them. So we're moving forward to get that information. And by the way, the other 2 cities have said, great, ask them to do one for us too. So Wood Village and Fairview also want to have that same information. So we're moving on that. Next one is to invite a company that does strategies for government agencies to pursue ballot measures. Because one of the options that the city is considering, as are the other 2 cities, maybe even Gresham, who knows, is a possibly ask to the citizens to have us join the fire district, Fire District 10, or establish a new fire district. And so I reached out to a number of different firms. One got back to me and would be thrilled to talk to us. They just did one for Cornelius, looking to establish a fire department. So they're more than happy to talk to us about what's the process if you're going to go out to a ballot measure? How do you go through it? What's the timeline? What do you have to make sure you have in place if you're going to be successful? So they're going to talk to me. One of them is tomorrow, one of them is Thursday I'm talking to. And so this week I'm talking with them to get them invited to the next meeting for the PSWAG to talk about that process. And they asked me to talk to the mayor, and I did, about what do you think Gresham's thinking right now? Well, right now Gresham's thinking nothing other than seeing if they can pass their bond levy on May 21st. And so Gresham pretty much, bless their heart, is gone radio silent on this issue because they don't know what their finances are going to be until after that bond levy vote happens in May. So we're just kind of waiting on them until after that. The other thing that they asked me to do was to get onto the board meeting for Fire District 10, just to meet and greet and say, we're interested in dating you guys maybe someday. So we have that scheduled. I will be going to their board meeting for Councilor Whitron and one. I got the date, April 23rd, 6:30, fire station at 302nd. So I'll be there just to kind of talk to them about that. Fire District 10 also proposed, maybe we should have a work session with all 3 cities and us after the ballot measure in Gresham, just talk about after that, what does the future hold for all of us and working together in the future for fire service in East County. So that's, we're gonna set that sometime maybe in June. We had Mike McKeel, who's on the board of Fire District 10. It was a great long discussion. Mike's got a long history with East County, period. And the fire district, and so it was good to talk to him to get a really understanding of the fire district and how it operates in the history. And then for next meeting, I think as I indicated, we're going to be talking about update, of course, on the sheriff's office and my discussions with them, where we're headed there, to talk about my meeting on April 23rd. We're going to have probably the company's called Praxis. Hopefully we'll have that company there at the next meeting to talk about how you do a ballot measure. And I can report back then on Econ Northwest on doing the economic study for a fire district. What would it mean to our citizens financially? So that's about most of it. And our next meeting is going to be June 3rd. In terms of getting together, May wasn't going to work, especially with Memorial Day and these other things that needed to get done. So we're shooting for June 3rd, Monday, for our next meeting.
And so the report from Jensen isn't going to be available by the June 3rd meeting?
The police report likely will not be available by then. I will check my email to see what my discussion was, but I don't think it was. I think it was middle to the end of June.
Is there another PSWAG meeting in June?
At this point, there's not,
Okay. So you're planning on
but you should talk to the
addressing
chair of
it?
the committee. He might be able to tell you.
Based on what our workload is and what everybody's availability is, I mean, we were having discussions last night of whether or not we were gonna try to get it done before the holiday and everybody's availability, but then we're gonna be able to get enough
Right.
response back and be able to get enough information by that meeting time. So that's why we elected to do it after the holiday, so.
Okay.
But if we need to do another one in June, I don't think there'd be any pushback from the committee to do two in June either.
Okay. I would imagine, at the very least, waiting until that information comes back and chewing on it as soon as it comes in.
Yes.
Counselor Glantz.
Yep, on that committee, can we also, since as I understand the committee's work, it's a work group, is to gather information. Is it something where if we were to propose a bond levy, can we at the same time reduce the bill assessment, cost per thousand?
Counselor Glantz, you started breaking up there. If you could repeat what you just stated, that would be perfect.
I think I knew her question just from the pieces that got through.
Oh, okay.
I think the question was, if we were to propose a ballot measure to join Fire District 10, which would increase the property taxes on individuals, could we use some of the savings from our general fund that had gone on to pay fire service to keep that impact on our citizens less? Was that the question, Councilor Glantz?
Basically, if the bond goes out at the same time, can we, yes, somehow make that burden less?
Yes, that is exactly what Newburgh did in 2018, and they passed their ballot measure to join the 12th Valley Fire District, and at the same time, they had another ballot measure that effected a reduction in their permanent tax rate over a period of time to soften the blow to citizens and then work it back up to the regular tax rate. So that is something that's been done in Oregon recently. So how to do that strategically and what that would be, that's obviously for a later discussion, but yeah, that's legal, right, Mr. Trumke?
Correct.
Okay.
That was the most ironclad answer he's ever given.
Yeah.
Correct. All right, any other questions from council before I open the update up for public comment? All right, I am going to open it up to public comment. If anybody wishes to make a comment on the update of the Public Safety Delivery Working Group, now's the time. In Zoom, if you wish to make comment, go ahead and unmute yourself, state your name and city of residence for the record. And anybody in council chambers tonight wishes to make a comment. Okay, I am going to close public comment. Well, thank you for the update. Thank you for the work. Appreciate it.
And right now, I'm gonna send an email to Mr. Jensen, just ask him for an update, because it might be the first part of June. I'm looking back at emails, so I'll ask him what their status is.
Yeah, and I will say, even though Gresham is 100% focused on their levy or their bond that they have going on right now, the other two cities and the other mayors and I, and the city managers are still working and discussing and collaborating, moving forward. So we're not sitting and waiting for Gresham to figure out where they're at. We're still moving forward. So we're having good, strong conversations. With that, before we move on to agenda item number 9, we did talk about bringing back the resolution from the March 12th council meeting. Agenda item number 6 was that resolution. It is coming up on 9:30. It's not very late. I'm not sure how long of a discussion this would be, but I would be more apt to waiting until we have all 7 of us.
Yes, I
to have
think
this
so
discussion.
too. Let's wait.
And
Let Allison join in.
And if by the next council meeting, if we are still 6, then bringing it back at the next council meeting with 6 of us.
As long as there isn't a time concern concerning the bond, I don't know if there is.
It's a show of support.
I'm sure the citizens of Troutdale are panting to hear what you're saying about this problem. I know they have to wait. They're just gonna have to wait.
Yeah. Okay. All right, that satisfies. All right, thank you, everybody. Agenda item number 10, staff communications, Mr. Ray Young.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got 6 things on the list, so I'll try to do them quickly. Number 1, tomorrow night is a planning commission meeting. There are 2 public hearings on contested matters. As always, council is invited to listen all you want, but please don't say anything, since you may get those 2 cases, and we don't want to prejudge what you may decide if it comes to the council on those 2. Number 2, I will say most of the committees in the city have beaten you in terms of success, in terms of getting their ethics reports in to the SEI in Salem. So I'm not looking at anybody, I'm not getting names, but if you haven't gotten that email, if you forgot about it, you need help with it, let Sarah know. Number 3, next week we have budget meetings scheduled on Monday and Wednesday, and they begin at 6 o'clock. You've got your budgets yesterday. Get your questions to me if you can. And because we're having this meeting and 2 meetings next week, good news is we're not going to have the April 23rd meeting. And as I found out, I'm going to be at Fire District 10 board meeting anyway that night. So, but we canceled the 4/23 meeting. Earth Day is April 20th. If you're interested, get on Facebook, out in the citizenry. If anybody's listening, get on Facebook. You can sign up to come help on Earth Day on April 20th. And finally, some of you may already know, but great news is after a long time of waiting, Union Pacific Railroad has given us 100% engineering approval for the path going underneath the railroad bridge.
Really?
So, wow. Yeah, amazing. Now, we're waiting for the contract from the lawyers, but the engineers have said it's okay. So we hope, again, we're still on track to have the bid documents out soon and start construction this summer is the hope on the Sandy Riverfront Trail, the $4 million beautiful project we're gonna have. So that's all I have, Mayor.
That's good news. Yeah, thank you, sir. Agenda item number 11, council communications. Council President Riva.
Am I first?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I just had a question from the first public comment, Sally Wright, about where is the skate park planned in Columbia Park? I know Columbia Park very well, but I just, where is it?
It is on the north end of the soccer field at Columbia Park. It's right adjacent to Cherry Park Road to the north, to Reynolds High School to the east, the soccer
Yeah,
field
that's
to
where
the
I thought
south.
it was. It didn't sound like it was near anybody's backyard, but maybe
On
there are
the
some
west
houses.
side, there is a home there, and the issue is, they got a response from the city, and I forwarded it on to you today. It's not set in stone where it's gonna be in relation to that house. I think we're gonna be a fair amount away from that house by the time it gets done. But that's part of the outreach program that's gonna happen with the company that we've hired. And so that's something we'll work with, because definitely we wanna make sure that there is a buffer for them and some distance.
Well, that was always the problem with the skate park, where to put it. Everybody wanted it, but nobody wanted it near.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we thought, a road to the north, a high school to the one side, a soccer field to the south, and trying to get distance from the one house over there was probably the best place we could find it. It's also in a city regional park, so it's supposed to have more amenities for the region in it.
Yeah, okay, thank you, that's all.
Councilor One.
All day to think about this. I think I just want to say about the safety working group. We really need a lot more information in terms of cost and getting numbers to attach to that. And really a lot of that is going to be based on what Gresham is willing to offer. So again, waiting until they came back was kind of paramount to us getting quality information to present to everybody here so we can all make good educated decisions. And then just very excited about the summer. Very excited about the summer coming up. Just the warmer weather. So that is it.
Councilor Glantz.
Nothing from me, thanks.
All right. Councilor White.
Yeah, Chris Gorsuch's office reached out to me because They have not received the letter concerning 257th. I don't know if that's happened yet, the letter that we wanted to write.
It's on my desk, ready to send out.
Okay, and then that's good news.
Yeah, the next day or two, in email, I'll send you all a copy.
Thanks, sir.
And my understanding, there was two things. One was the concern about the narrowing the lanes of both 11. The second thing was one of the crosswalks was in a location that didn't make any sense.
Great.
Thanks.
And then I was gonna ask about Saul's question about, because I noticed in the summertime, a lot of Portland area restaurants take up a portion of the street, and it looks like a dugout for outdoor seating, and I know it is very popular. Some people are still gun shy about COVID and would prefer to be outside, or they're bringing a dog. So is there anything we can look into? And
Yeah, Marley, our economic development
Your
person.
mic is off.
Sorry, Marley, economic development person, her and I've talked about it, and she was gonna reach out to Saul to talk about it. And then it's also something we have to reach out to the county to see how we can work with them since it's their road. Usually in something like this, they work pretty good with us, because like, I don't care, it's your downtown, we hope. So, yeah, it's something, and something September, June to September might be, it's something that.
or what about going to the other end of that building and doing like a deck or a veranda? Would that be something that could be done?
If it's permitted, it could be done.
Okay.
One of the things we had previously told Terry Smoke, who owned the general store, he had inquired of the city, would we allow him to do a deck out the back? The reason it's not just automatic is because it's our property behind their buildings, and they would have to extend over the city property. But it's so high, I told Terry at the time, oh, absolutely, give us a plan, let us see what you want to do, and then he sold the building. And so we would be as amenable to Saul the same way, depending on the plan, that as long as it's not doing anything to infringe upon our use of the parking lot back there, which I can't imagine it ever would, because it's probably gonna be at least 15 to 20 feet off the ground. We'd absolutely work with them. Now, in terms of cost and structure, I don't know if it would work there, but we're open to the idea, because I don't see it as a problem.
Thank you.
And it would come to council too, because we would be giving some right over our property, so you'd have to approve it.
Thanks.
All right, Counselor Witcher.
Couple of things that came up, skate park, as we go into budget.
Oh, you're not gonna save it for budget?
I'm just planting the seed, I planted the seed last year, I'm planting the seed again, as we go into budget, just because it's on there, does that mean we need to keep moving forward? Just because it's been on there for years, does that mean we continue to spend money towards a skate park that nobody seems to be asking about? How often are skate parks being used anymore? I've been asking Ray for a year now, how much engagement has there been from the community asking about a skate park? And it seems to be zero. So I think we really need to look at it. Just because it's been there, does that really mean we need to spend the money and take another step forward in skate park? Is there another part of the parks we could use it for, that the funds, the money that's gonna create better engagement instead of just a small little niche group that's gonna use a skate park? That's A. B, working group is going great, it's great engagement from everybody. We are accomplishing a lot, but I can tell you, we absolutely feel the pressure of there is not enough time. So, yes, we feel that crunch. So, but it is a great group and it's going very, very well, very engaged, so. Other than that, that's all I got.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll say, thank you, everybody, for a good meeting, and I'll see the majority of you Monday and Wednesday.
Okay.
Oh, goody. Yes, I move we adjourn.
All in favor signify by Sarah.
Counselor Glantz.
Oh, Counselor Glantz. I called on her.
Did you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, she said she passed.
Right over my head.
All in favor of ending the meeting signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, everybody, have a good evening. Thank you very much. Drive safe.
All right.